Most people don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they always leave a way out. There's always that quiet little escape hatch, a backup plan, just in case a soft landing, they can retreat to the moment things get hard. And that's the exact reason they never build the self-discipline they need to break through. Discipline doesn't survive in environments where comfort is an option. You can't build mental strength while giving yourself permission to quit whenever it gets uncomfortable. The human brain is brilliant, but it's also lazy by default. It will choose the path of least resistance unless you force it to adapt. That's why the first and most brutal, yet effective strategy to master discipline is this: eliminate every exit, burn the bridge. Think about it when your only choice is forward. You stop second guessing yourself. You stop waiting for motivation to magically show up. You stop hesitating, overanalyzing, and delaying action. You move because there's nowhere else to go. That's when your identity begins to shift. That's when your mind recalibrates from "I'll try" to "this is it." Throughout history, this mindset has built empires and changed lives. When Hernan Cortés landed in the New World, he ordered his men to destroy their ships. No retreat, no way home, victory or nothing. Whether you agree with the history or not, the lesson is undeniable. When the stakes are real, the focus becomes razor sharp. You discover strength that was hiding under layers of hesitation and fear. Discipline isn't built by reading quotes or watching motivational videos. It's forged in the moments when you've got every excuse to quit, but no place to run. This is where your psychology matters most, because your subconscious is always listening to your decisions. Every time you make quitting an option, you teach your mind that commitment is negotiable, and that kills your power at the root. But when you tell yourself, "I don't have a plan B, I don't need a plan B," this is the plan, your mind shifts. You enter a different mode, a version of yourself that doesn't need daily motivation because you've already made the decision. The only thing left is execution. So many people wonder why they keep breaking promises to themselves, because deep down, they know those promises aren't absolute. They're more like suggestions. You can't build discipline on suggestions. You need rules. You need non-negotiables. This is not about being reckless. It's about committing at a level that doesn't give your fear room to breathe. If you keep the back door open, don't be surprised when you run through it. If you give yourself a way out, you'll take it again and again. So what's the move? Decide what you're here to do, and then make it impossible to go backward. Remove the excuses. Cut off the distractions. Stop romanticizing comfort. Stop needing a second opinion. You already know what has to be done. Now leave yourself no other option and do it, because real transformation begins the moment you make quitting impossible. Discipline isn't born from desire. It's born from commitment without compromise. That's the only way you truly change your life. Discipline isn't just about saying yes to hard work. It's about saying no to everything that weakens your edge. And here's the truth nobody talks about. Your ability to master self-discipline is directly tied to how you handle your environment. Not just the external one, but the psychological landscape you live in every day. People assume they're weak because they can't resist temptation. But willpower isn't the issue, environment is. You're trying to stay focused in a world designed to distract you. You scroll through apps engineered to hijack your dopamine. You surround yourself with people who validate your excuses, and then you wonder why discipline feels like a losing battle. The human brain is wired for energy conservation, for familiarity, for the path of least resistance. That's evolution. Your biology doesn't care if you fulfill your dreams. It cares if you survive the day. So the moment something feels uncomfortable, your mind tries to talk you out of it. Just 5 more minutes. You'll start tomorrow. This one time won't matter. Sound familiar? That's your environment, internal and external, whispering you back into mediocrity. And here's the kicker. Discipline isn't about pushing harder in that moment. It's about setting up your life so you're not constantly having to choose between the hard path and the easy one. Want to be more disciplined? Start here, cut the noise. Unfollow people who drain your focus. Turn off notifications that fracture your attention. Set your space up for clarity and intention, not chaos. Because if you're surrounded by junk, you'll think like junk. If you wake up and the first thing you see is distraction, guess what becomes your mindset for the rest of the day? Now let's take this even deeper, because environment is more than what's outside of you. It's also the stories you repeat inside your head. If you're constantly telling yourself, "I've never been disciplined. I always mess things up. This is just who I am," then congratulations, you've created an internal environment that rewards failure. You've built a prison made of your own words. And every time you repeat that story, you reinforce the chains. So what's the fix? You change the narrative. You start small but intentional. You declare, "I do hard things even when I don't feel like it." You act like the person you want to become until your brain catches up, and it will. Neuroplasticity is real. Habits reshape identity. But none of that happens if your environment keeps pulling you back into who you used to be. One of the most powerful decisions you'll ever make is this: to protect your environment like your life depends on it. Because it does. Everything you allow around you either sharpens you or softens you. Every voice you let in either builds your belief or breaks it down. So audit your life with ruthless honesty. Because if you don't, discipline will always feel like an up battle you're not equipped to win. Discipline is not just what you do. It's what you allow. And if you can control your environment, you can control your future. Here's a truth: we try to ignore. The pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts a lifetime. Most people fail to master self-discipline because they don't fully understand the cost of inaction. They see discipline as punishment, as some joyless grind they're forced into. But discipline isn't punishment. It's the purest form of self-respect. It's the decision to do what's right for your future self, even when your present self is begging for comfort. We live in a world that's constantly selling us comfort, quick fixes, instant gratification, everything now, everything easy. And every time you take that bait, every time you choose comfort over growth, you're training your nervous system to avoid resistance, when in reality, resistance is where your power lies. Discipline in its rawest form is about choosing delayed gratification, not because it feels good now, but because it builds something greater later. It's about holding a vision so strong, so emotionally rooted in your identity, that you're willing to endure the discomfort of today for the greatness of tomorrow. Think about that. When you delay that workout, skip that project, scroll instead of study, what you're really doing is making a trade. You're trading your potential for a hit of dopamine. You're sacrificing long-term peace for short-term relief. And then you wonder why you feel anxious, why life feels stuck, why you look in the mirror and see a version of yourself you no longer respect. It's because every time you break a promise to yourself, even the small ones, your confidence bleeds quietly, consistently. It's death by 1,000 cuts. But here's the good news: you can reverse that. And it starts by rewiring your relationship with discomfort. Discomfort isn't your enemy, it's your compass. When something feels hard, that doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It means you're exactly where you need to be. Growth is disguised as resistance. Expansion is hidden in the hard things. And the more you lean into them, not avoid them, the more power you reclaim. But here's what separates the disciplined from the dreamers. They don't wait to feel like it. They understand that motivation is a myth. It's a mood. And moods don't build empires. Commitment does. Disciplined people train themselves to take action regardless of emotion. They do what's required, not what's convenient. And over time, they rewire their brain to associate discomfort with progress, not pain. That's when the game changes. That's when you stop negotiating with your excuses and start building something real. So the question becomes, are you willing to feel uncomfortable now to feel proud later? Are you willing to lose a little sleep today to wake up with fire in your gut tomorrow? Because self-discipline doesn't just create results. It creates freedom. Freedom from guilt, freedom from doubt, freedom from the weight of wasted potential. You want self-worth, earn it. You want self-respect. Keep the promises you make to yourself when no one's watching. Because in those silent battles, those moments where no applause is given, no recognition is earned, that's where character is carved. That's where the real ones are made. Discipline is a choice, a hard one, but one that changes everything. So make the trade not for what feels good now, but for the future you refuse to live without. Let's talk about something people rarely admit: you're already being disciplined right now, every single day. The question is, are you disciplined in the direction of your growth or in the direction of your destruction? Because the truth is, habits are discipline. Scrolling for hours, that's discipline. Avoiding hard conversations, that's discipline. Eating junk, skipping the gym, procrastinating, you're disciplined too, just in the wrong direction. You're practicing avoidance. You're rehearsing self-sabotage. See, discipline isn't just for the elite or the obsessed or the high achievers. It's already baked into your life. What matters is what you're loyal to. And most people are more loyal to their patterns and to their potential. They repeat the same day, the same cycle, the same story, and then wonder why nothing changes. So let's flip that. Let's stop acting like discipline is some mountain you need to climb. It's not. It's a shift in identity. It's deciding today to redirect the discipline you already have and point it at something that actually builds you. Because when you change what you repeat, you change who you become. Let me ask you this. What do you do when no one's watching, when there's no pressure, no deadline, no accountability? That's where your real discipline lies. Not when it's convenient, not when it's exciting, but when it's silent, when the room is quiet, when the bed is warm, when the excuses are loud. Who do you become? If you wait until you feel ready, you've already lost. Because readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. It's a quiet, private declaration. I'm done betraying myself. And once the decision's made, everything changes. Suddenly, your habits stop being obligations and start becoming expressions of who you are. You stop chasing motivation and start building momentum. You stop setting goals out of pressure and start building systems from identity. This is what separates the disciplined from the dreamers. Dreamers wait for the perfect moment. The disciplined create one. They say, this is hard. This is boring. This is uncomfortable. But this is what I said I'd do, and I follow through. And when you live like that, when your actions start aligning with your vision, something profound happens. You start to trust yourself again. You stop living in guilt. You stop overthinking everything. You walk into a room with quiet confidence because you know you're not full of talk, you're full of execution. That's what builds self-respect. That's what creates identity transformation. Because in the end, discipline is not about willpower. It's about alignment. It's when your actions, values, and beliefs all point in the same direction. That's when you become unstoppable. So the question isn't, can I be more disciplined? The question is, what am I already disciplined at, and is it serving me or sabotaging me? That answer will tell you everything. Now is the time to redirect it, to stop unconsciously practicing patterns that hurt you and start intentionally practicing habits that free you. Because once you take ownership of your discipline, you take ownership of your destiny. There's something most people never consider when they talk about self-discipline. It's not about doing more. It's about removing the noise. Distraction is the enemy of discipline. Not because it steals your time, but because it fractures your presence. It divides your mind into pieces, and you can't build anything strong with scattered attention. In this world of infinite stimulation, where your phone dings, your feed scrolls endlessly, and 1,000 voices fight for your focus, your ability to protect your attention is your ultimate power. People say they lack motivation, but in most cases, they're just overstimulated. They're too fragmented to go deep on anything meaningful. You ever sit down to work and 5 minutes later find yourself checking notifications, rearranging your desktop, scrolling through nonsense? Not because you want to, but because your brain has been trained to seek novelty instead of depth. That's not laziness. That's a hijacked nervous system. And that's why true discipline begins with eliminating what dulls your edge. You can't climb if you're carrying everything. You want clarity, start subtracting. You want energy, start eliminating. Because self-discipline isn't about white knuckling your way through life. It's about creating an environment that serves your future, not your comfort. You don't need more willpower. You need fewer temptations. You need to ask yourself, what's in my space that pulls me away from who I want to be? Maybe it's the apps. Maybe it's the people. Maybe it's the habits you've convinced yourself are harmless, but they're bleeding your potential in tiny, quiet ways every day. And don't underestimate this. Small distractions become massive over time, just like compound interest builds wealth. Compound distraction destroys greatness. So the game here is simple, but not easy. Create friction around the things that weaken you and remove friction around the things that grow you. You should be able to go days without touching junk content. You should have boundaries so tight that even your future self will thank you for them. Because the less you're reacting to the world, the more you're responding to your vision. And here's something radical. Sometimes discipline looks like doing nothing, like not opening the app, not replying to the drama, not chasing another dopamine hit. It looks like sitting in silence and thinking being. Because in that stillness, you remember who the hell you are. And from that space, your discipline becomes clear. You're not trying to win a battle of attention anymore. You're designing your life around it. So if you really want to master discipline, start with subtraction, not hustle, not more goals, just less of what dulls you. Because when you clear out the noise, even just a little, your true power rushes back in. And in that moment, focus becomes effortless. Discipline becomes automatic, and your results start to reflect the clarity you've earned. Minimalism isn't about having less. It's about being more. So protect your focus like your life depends on it, because it does. Here's the truth. Most people avoid you will not feel like it most of the time. That's why emotional management, not motivation, is the final pillar of self-discipline. People wait to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect timing, the perfect energy. And while they're waiting, life keeps moving. Opportunities pass. Potential fades. Regret grows. Because discipline isn't built in your best moments. It's forged in the days you don't feel like showing up. Everyone is disciplined when they're inspired. But the real question is, who are you when inspiration dies? Because it will. There will be mornings when you wake up tired, discouraged, disconnected. There will be days when fear whispers louder than your goals. And there will be seasons when nothing makes sense, but you still have to move forward. That's where emotional discipline separates the amateurs from the relentless. You've got to master your state. You've got to recognize that feelings are real, but they're not always true. And if you let every emotion dictate your actions, you'll never gain momentum. You'll be a puppet, pulled by every mood swing, every burst of doubt, every flash of insecurity. But when you learn to acknowledge your emotions without becoming them, that's when your power becomes untouchable. So how do you do that? You build habits bigger than your feelings. You don't negotiate with your mind every morning. You decide once and follow through no matter how you feel. You treat emotions like weather. They come and go, but you still drive the car. Rain or shine, fear or clarity. You still move, and that's not ignoring emotions. It's leading through them, because sometimes doing the thing you hate while feeling weak is the exact act that makes you strong. You do it anyway. You show up anyway, not because you feel like it, but because you said you would. And every time you follow through when you don't feel like it, you wire something deep in your identity. You start to believe, I'm the kind of person who follows through. That belief, that's the foundation of real self-worth. Not fake confidence, not positive affirmations taped to the wall, but the raw knowing that you can trust yourself even when it's hard. That's what changes everything. Because when discipline becomes part of who you are, not just something you try, you stop needing to push yourself so hard. You don't need to chase motivation. You become your own fuel. You rise above your moods. You become steady in the storm, and your life starts reflecting that inner strength. So stop waiting to feel like it. Start becoming the kind of person who moves anyway. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent in the face of chaos. It's not about forcing yourself. It's about remembering who you said you'd be, even when it's hard. That's emotional mastery. That's discipline. And that's what will separate you from everyone else still waiting for a feeling to save them. Now listen closely. Self-discipline is not about punishment. It's about freedom. It's about reclaiming your power in a world that constantly pulls you away from yourself. Every technique we talked about today, training your impulses, building structure, rewiring identity, embracing discomfort, mastering your focus, and leading your emotions. They aren't just habits. They are weapons. Weapons against mediocrity, against excuses, against the soft voice in your head that says, take it easy. But here's the truth. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to knock on your door and hand you the life you want. If you want it, really want it, you're going to have to earn it with daily choices, with uncomfortable decisions, with relentless self-respect. So stop waiting. Stop negotiating with your weakness. Stop giving your power to how you feel. Because every single day, you're either feeding your greatness or you're feeding your excuses. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You need discipline. Raw, unfiltered, unshakable. And if you choose it every single day, then I promise you, there is nothing you cannot become. So rise, lock in, and never lower your standard for a life you don't even want. This is your time. Own it. Thanks for watching and supporting Alpha Focus. Your journey to greatness starts here. Stay focused, stay powerful. Subscribe for more videos.